Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Rob Reads. I'm your host, Rob Arnold. These podcasts are meant to be an enjoyable and relaxing listen while you're chilling out, driving to work, on the train or on a plane, or however and wherever you like to consume your content. In today's episode, I'll be reading a 1995 guitar school interview with Megadeth's deadly guitar duo of the time, Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman. Originally conducted by guitar school senior editor Nick Bowcott, the feature hit newsstands shortly after the release of Megadeth's 1994 album, Youthanasia. During the interview, Nick and the guys discussed some of the album's recording process, the guitar solos, and who played what, plus a whole lot more. Enjoy. Foreword by Nick Bowcott. An eerie white mist rises from the graveyard as the church bell tolls the 12th stroke of midnight, and the dead rise and gather in a vast seething throng outside their nearest metal record store. The reason for this ghoulish gathering? To satisfy an insatiable lust for Megadeth. Yes, fellow members of the undead, at exactly 12 midnight, October 31st, 1994, the brand new Megadeth album, Youthanasia, hits the dark and dangerous streets. But why wait till Halloween to release what will certainly be the year's biggest metal album? It's just another cornball corporate marketing ploy, sneers Megadeth's main man Dave Mustaine. It will probably grab us some extra media attention, but for all I care, Youthanasia could be coming out on Christmas Eve. All I know is the thing needs to get out there, because it's been a while. Actually, the group's previous long-playing opus, the near to double platinum Countdown to Extinction, was released back in 1992, and Megadeth has done a pretty good job of staying in the limelight. Their song from the Last Action Hero soundtrack, Angry Again, created a major stir, and 99 Ways to Die, the lead track and video from the hugely successful The Beavis and Butthead Experience compilation album, was a mainstay of MTV and metal radio. Also, Mustaine's stint as an MTV reporter at the Democratic Convention during the cable station's groundbreaking Rock the Vote campaign brought the band to new audiences and served to reinforce Mustaine's reputation as a socially aware, thought-provoking lyricist, a trend that continues on Youthanasia. If you think the system is working, then talk to someone who's not, says Mustaine. Growing up in America today, or in any country for that matter, is a pretty screwed up state of affairs. I mean, right now young people have to deal with a world in rapid decline. You've got global warming, extinction of species, AIDS, riots, and the threat of nuclear holocaust. We're all getting hung out to dry by the irresponsible actions of our predecessors. That's what the title track of the album, Youthanasia, is all about. But not all of Mustaine's lyrics attack problems of global proportions. Some are intensely personal. Take Addicted to Chaos, for example. That's a song I wrote about the drug counselor who got me sober and then overdosed on heroin, says Mustaine. Now there's an oxymoron if there ever was one. Or is it a dichotomy? Or a paradox? I guess the best word to use is probably dickhead. I think the only reason he got me sober was to cop my dope. When it came time to begin work on Youthanasia, Mustaine and company once again called upon the expert services of their long-standing and much-respected co-producer, co-arranger, co-mixer, and engineer extraordinaire, Max Norman. Max is credited on work with bands such as Ozzy Osbourne, Bad Company, Death Angel, and Sabotage. Megadeth's first encounter with Norman was when he mixed 1990's Rust in Peace. The union was such a massive success that he's co-produced, co-mixed, and co-arranged everything the band has done ever since. Max Norman is without a doubt one of the best things that's ever happened to Megadeth, says Mustaine. He's a brilliant producer, he has a great musical ear, and he's also one of the most intelligent men I've ever met. I feel honored to call him a friend. If you read the Youthanasia liner notes, you'll notice that the album was recorded at the Hangar 18 studio in Phoenix, Arizona. If you've never heard of this state-of-the-art, high-tech establishment before, don't worry, you're not alone. I wanted to record that thing in Phoenix because that's where everybody in the band had moved to, says Norman. So the original idea was to rent a real cool house and do everything there, but that didn't really come together. It was very difficult to find a place, and we had a lot of trouble with homeowners, societies, and all that kind of crap. So my next plan was to hire a warehouse and then build a studio from scratch inside it. I used CAD, which is a computer-aided design program, to build the whole thing on my computer, and then we put 4 to 6 carpenters to work for 4 to 6 months. We started building the thing on February 6th, 1994. Put the drums in around May 16th, and then rehearsed with the band and worked on arrangements up until around June 6th. Then we started to put stuff down on tape. There's a 48-track digital recording machine out there, a solid-state Logic 64-channel board, and a whole bunch of outboard effects. Right now we're ripping down the structure, and I guess my next step is to find someplace in North Hollywood so we can set it all up again. The studio is certainly not portable, but it is movable because we built it in such a way that we could tear it apart and move it elsewhere without totally destroying it. It'll be the exact same studio, but just in LA. The stuff is all mine. Because of the circumstances, the cheapest way to record the album was for me to build a studio out there and then not charge the band too much money to use it. It wasn't particularly cost effective for me to do it, and to be honest, I took a bit of a financial bath on it. But whatever, the record came out good, so I don't really care. Guitar School got the chance to speak with Mustaine and Friedman shortly after Euthanasia's final mixes. Being the workaholics they are, they were busy putting the finishing touches to 6 B-sides, including a cover of the Sex Pistols' classic Problems, the intriguingly titled Bullprick. It's kind of a piece of heavy machinery, says Friedman, and a collaboration with Sean Harris, lead singer of the legendary new wave of British heavy metal band Diamond Head. The song's called Crown of Worms, and Sean Harris wrote the lyrics for it, says MEGADETH. It is so classic new wave of British heavy metal that if I would have stayed in Metallica, it would have been on Kill 'Em All. We were using it as a B-side to our first single off Euthanasia, Train of Consequences. And it's so righteous, it's bound to become a massive collector's item. So to all those people out there who see the single in the store, I'd say, don't buy any other record. Don't even eat. Save your money and buy that single. Guitar School. Countdown to Extinction was about as technically perfect as an album can get. However, I understand the band adopted a more live approach when recording Euthanasia. Dave. We were all incredibly meticulous throughout the making of Countdown. But when I found myself washing the hairs on my ballsack one at a time, I realized I was probably getting a touch too anal. This time around, we recorded the basic tracks together as a band. We just hit record and kept playing until we got a great live take. If someone screwed up badly, we'd stop and start over again rather than fix it later. But if you listen to the album carefully, you'll hear string noises and other minor mistakes that would have never made it on the last record. But you know what? Who gives a shit? The vibe is there, and that's what counts. When you each record your basic parts separately, you end up playing along with a tape machine all the time, and you begin to like the machine more than your band, because it can fix all kinds of mistakes for you. But when you record together, like we did this time around, you start to really dig your band. You get to know everyone's little glitches. The mighty Led Zeppelin didn't go back in and do punches. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. Doing this album the way we did it was one of the funnest things I've ever done. Marty. This LP was definitely the most fun we've ever had recording because of the live vibe. Also, the material definitely lends itself to having a good time. Looking back, I think that on Countdown, Dave and Max both tried to outdo each other to see who could make everything more perfect. That, coupled with the fact that all 4 members of the band are perfectionists already, led us to pushing each other to even sicker levels of perfection. It was great at the time because we produced something that was totally flawless. This time though, thank God, let's only be critical of being critical. Let's enjoy the vibe of the music and not stress over tiny little things that no one is going to hear anyway. Dave. You have to realize that Countdown was recorded at a critical time in my life. My son was just born. As anybody who's a father knows, when you're living with a woman who's pregnant, you're basically romancing the devil. As a result, it was really hard for me to be there 100% of the time for my bride and 100% for the record. Because of that, I became 2 people. In fact, I was probably 3 or 4 people. I was definitely schizophrenic at times, and that's where the song Sweating Bullets came from. Guitar School. So how many people were you during the making of Euthanasia? Dave. Well, I would say that I was as focused and as stable as I've ever been. It's kind of a hassle when your personality is unpredictable, but I'm at a point right now where I've been pretty stable. I don't know if the other guys in the band would agree with that, because if they all pulled their pants down, you'd see a couple bite marks on each of their asses. But hey, that's typical for making an album. You might get some butt-kissing bands that say, we love each other, we have circle jerks together. We've had some spats and tips, but for the most part, things were really cool. Guitar School. Would you say now that leaving the occasional minor human error in a recording can add to the overall sonic picture? Marty. It absolutely does, though I never believed it before. I always said, a mistake is a mistake. A noise is a noise. Let's do whatever it takes to get rid of them. But you know what? Once you leave one out, you end up leaving most of them out because you start to realize that the human imperfections add personality. The thing is, the guitar noises I make by mistake definitely sound different from the ones Dave makes by mistake. Those little clues show that all four of us are human and not computer generated. Countdown proved that perfection sounds great, but this way sounds bigger, raw, and more natural. I always wanted to be a machine, but now I actually like being human. Guitar school. Did you ever get bogged down doing the same song over and over again? Dave. No. We would move on to the next song if we didn't get it in 3 takes. Guitar school. Did you get any of the 12 songs on your first one? Dave. Yeah, a couple of them were 1 takes. And when it happened, you're talking about major boners all around. There were also a few songs that were done in the first lot of 3 takes, and then there was one track, Train of Consequences, that took us something like 40 different tries to do it all the way through. Guitar school. It must have been very frustrating if you were a few bars away from a perfect run and somebody made a take-stopping mistake. Dave. Yeah, there were definitely moments of sheer genius and moments of sheer animosity during the recording of this album. In the home video, there's a part where Marty does this long, drawn-out, clean intro to a song called A Tout Le Monde, and then the whole band kicks in. Well, all of us but Nick. So Nick says, "Oh, I thought you made a mistake." And Marty says, "Well, I thought you were listening." That's about as angry as Marty ever gets. He grits his teeth and pulls his hair away from his face so you can see his eyes and his furrowed brow. Guitar school. Speaking of mistakes, there's a great one at the end of your version of Paranoid on the Nativity in Black, the Black Sabbath tribute album, where the song ends, but Nick keeps going until you shout at him. Dave. What you hear is exactly what happened. Nick wanted us to take the part out where he realizes that he's done and says, "Fuck me running." But I said, "Dude, you know what? If you take that out, we'd have to mute the drums." We recorded the whole song in about 2 minutes flat. I think we even stretched the tape to make the song last longer. Guitar school. How many rhythm guitar overdubs did you do on each song? Marty. Not including the occasional textural overdub, we both doubled our basic rhythm tracks. Also, to keep the live vibe going, Dave and I recorded our doubles together. As soon as we got a great take of a song, we rewound the tape, hit record, and doubled our parts right away. Guitar school. Marty, in the past, you've often said that you consider your rhythm work to be somewhat lacking. Do you still feel that way? Dave. The person who improved the most between Countdown and this album is definitely Marty. His leads have always been great, but now he's at the stage where he's almost playing rhythm exactly like me. I guess I'm going to have to fire him soon. Marty. I've been working really hard on that aspect of my playing ever since I joined Megadeth, and it's finally paid off. To be honest, until I joined, I didn't have a gauge of what playing rhythm well was like. And then I saw and heard Dave. Although he's always saying, "I'm lazy, I never practice," there's no one in the business better than he. His rhythm work is flawless. I've learned an awful lot from him, and now I've gotten my rhythm playing to a level where my parts lock in tightly with his. We don't sound exactly the same, but that's a good thing because it adds depth and personality to the overall sound of the band. On Youthanasia, Dave and I shared all the rhythms 50-50, with the exception of one song. I didn't play any of the verse parts in Train of Consequences. I still have a hard time with anything that's remotely funky. So, to save time, Dave played my rhythm parts. Actually, just for the record, I played a lot more rhythms on Rust in Peace than I did on Countdown. On Peace, I played 1 track of the rhythm and Dave played 2. On Countdown, I don't remember if I played any rhythm parts at all. And to be honest with you, I was quite happy about that at the time. The album wouldn't have been so tight sounding if I'd played back then. Dave nailed his parts and then just doubled them to perfection. So I just came in and did solos and stuff. That approach seemed to work pretty well for Countdown, but the division of labor we adopted this time out was perfect. By sharing the rhythm work with Dave, it gave him more time to concentrate on his vocals, and he really came to the plate on that front. His vocal performances on this album are easily his best. Guitar school. This is also probably your most accessible LP to date. The songs are definitely less complex in terms of the number of riffs per song. Is that fair to say? Marty. Well, they seem less complex, but it actually took much more work to whittle them down to the shape they're in. We had to really trim off a lot of the fat to make every single part effective. Choosing what should stay and what should go is a lot harder than just leaving everything in and stringing a bunch of parts together. Max came in a lot earlier in the game for this album than on Countdown, and he was there for all the songwriting. On Countdown, he didn't come in and put his ideas forward until all the stuff was written and demoed. Having Max there while we were writing with us and his arrangement ideas stopped us from getting too attached to anything. He definitely helped the process move along. In fact, he was almost like a fifth member. Guitar School. The opening cut of Youthanasia, Reckoning Day, doesn't contain a guitar solo. That's probably going to throw a lot of people off. Marty. Yeah, we didn't really stick to a normal structure. Verse, bridge, chorus, solo, verse, bridge, chorus, out on that song. Sure, there's no dedicated lead break, but there's still plenty of guitars going on. I mean, there's some very cool fills and a middle section where Dave's playing the melody and I'm playing a clean guitar part. There's a lot of interesting interplay going on. We wanted to do something a little bit different, and that's where that harmonica solo in Elysian Fields comes from. That's definitely going to cause EP fans to go, what the hell? Guitar School. Speaking of lead breaks, who played what on the album? Dave. Although I played lead on a number of the new songs, Marty's definitely the soloist in Megadeth, so the bulk of the lead work is his. Marty. I do the main leads in Train of Consequences, A Tout Le Mans, Family Tree, and I Thought I Knew It All. I also do the main solo and all the fills in Addicted to Chaos. In Blood of Heroes, I did the main solo and there's a little harmony part between the verses that both of us played. In Youthanasia and Black Curtains, Dave takes the first solo and I take the second. Killing Road features a shared solo. I do the first one and Dave does the second. The solo in Victory is another shared solo that goes Dave, Marty, Marty. Like I've already mentioned, Reckoning Day doesn't have a solo, and all the fills are done by Dave. Elysian Fields doesn't have a guitar solo either. I do play some fills at the end, but you can barely hear them. Guitar School. Marty, although you've done some truly blazing solos on the album, your playing also displays remarkable restraint in places, like the lead in Addicted to Chaos. Marty. Thanks. I'm really pleased with that solo. My original intention was to play it all slow and snaky, but halfway through Max went, you gotta start kicking in and ripping, or people will fall asleep. Dave. After a while, that self-indulgent, rock star-itis, solo till your pecker falls off mentality just doesn't cut it. It sucks. It's shit. When all you do is put a little notch mark in the back of your guitar, stick your helmet against it, and solo till you orgasm, it gets pretty pointless. Songs, lyrics, and overall content are much more important. The solo doesn't mean anything if there isn't a song around it. One of the things I made Marty write out 500 times before we went in the studio was, I must not whittly dee. I tell ya, he's played some of the best shit he's ever done on this album, and I've heard all his solo stuff. Guitar School. Marty, you put a wah-wah pedal to great use in your Blood of Heroes solo. I've never heard you use one before. Is it something you've been working on? Marty. Not really. I have no technique when it comes to using a wah pedal at all. So I just plugged into a crybaby and winged it. There are some players out there who are really good at using a wah to accentuate notes and phrases, but I'm not one of them. I've probably only stepped on a wah 4 or 5 times in my entire life. So I was relying totally on feel. Guitar School. Dave, even though you're best known for your rhythm playing, as the shared solo in Victory proves, you're no slouch when it comes to blazing out killer leads. Who are your influences in that area? Dave. Angus Young's lead playing had a big impact on me when I was growing up because I loved AC Doodle. I think I learned every stinking note he ever played. When I ask myself, who influenced my playing the most in terms of leads, I think, was it Jimmy Page? Was it Angus? Was it Ace Frehley? Was it Michael Schenker? Or was it Judas Priest? Then I realized what influenced my playing the most was alcohol, because I was under the influence. I knew who I was drinking with back then, but I didn't know who I was trying to play like. My favorite overall guitar player probably have to be Eric Clapton, though. Guitar School. To close, gents, how would you describe the differences in your lead playing styles? Marty. It's a great question because we are so very different. Dave's solo playing tends to be more aggressive and maybe more wild and unleashed than mine. I can play really wild and flailing solos, but when I want to play that way, I'll consciously say to myself, now's the time to really open up the floodgates and rock. Whereas Dave, he'll naturally come out with that sort of stuff. I have a natural tendency to premeditate stuff to the point of obsession, but I think I obsessed a lot less on this album. On quite a few solos on Youthanasia, I just went in there and improvised. For example, the solo in A Tout Le Mans was a really quick one to do. I just instinctively knew what the melody was going to be and didn't even have to work it out or plan anything. It just happened. If you want to hear the difference in the way Dave and I play lead, then the shared solo we do in Killing Road is a pretty good one to listen to. It's a typical Marty solo followed by something that's very typical Dave. Dave. I guess I'd have to say that the main differences between my leads and Marty's is that he's passion and I'm aggression. I once had the dubious, self-righteous indignation to say that I'm Jimmy Page and that Marty's Uli Roth as far as comparing our two approaches to guitar playing. The only reason I said that is because Uli was so into nailing every single note like Marty is, while Jimmy was just proud to be there. And that's kind of how I was and still am. I'm just happy to be here. And if you don't like me, that's okay. There's plenty of people that do. You know what? I was driving down the freeway to the studio the other day, and some guy honked at me and flipped me off. I immediately started thinking, are you mad at me because I'm famous? Are you mad at me because of this car? Are you mad at me because I have multi-platinum records? Are you mad at me because I probably screwed your girlfriend? What's this all about? And then I figured it out. Maybe he was just signaling to get over, and I zoomed past him in the right-handed lane. Maybe he was just playing mad. Okay, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please let me know by hitting the like button and making sure you're subscribed to my channel. If you'd like to hear more, I'll have a series playlist link in the show notes below. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so by joining my wonderful Patreon community, which offers exclusive perks and benefits at patreon.com/RobArnoldWorld. Big thanks to one of my favorite bands on the planet, Megadeth. Rest in peace, Nick Menza. And thanks to Nick Bowcott and Guitar School Magazine for making this possible. Cheers, everyone. Again, I'm Rob Arnold, and I hope you'll join me again on the next one.